Yeah, I need you to check that date for me.
Quiet. Wrong.
Welcome to Community Watch. Greg,
Doc,
how are you?
I'm here.
Good. I'm glad you're here. We are interviewing candidates for Rome City Commission on this show and a series of shows. And we've got all of them. I'm amazed.
Yes.
We've got all of them. And so we're going to begin with an incumbent candidate, Commissioner Craig McDaniel, who's running for Ward 3. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's very good to be here, and this is a part of running for public office, and I did this 4 years ago, and you guys were very kind. Hopefully we'll go I'll leave here with no bruises today, maybe.
Well, let's see. What is your primary motivation for running for Rome City Commission?
Well, I believe in public service. Now, I'll tell you something that's a little bit, it's kind of hokey, but I graduated from high school in 1971. A lot of my classmates were going off to the military. My dad served in the military, had a lot of family members that served in the military, and I never did. I was about to get drafted, and they ended the draft. I think that's my biggest one regret in my life is I did not serve in the military. So in the past 40 years, I worked at Georgia Northwestern Coosa Valley Tech for about 35 years. I was very involved in the community. I've served on a lot of boards and a lot of nonprofits, but I have a commitment to public service. And I just, where I can help, I think those of us who have the ability. I'm a native Roman. I graduated from West Rome High School, and I just felt compelled to run. I'm glad I did it the first time. I've learned a lot about Rome, even though I've been here for 66 years. But I love this city, love this community. I think we've got the best community in Georgia.
All right. Our second question is slightly different for incumbents as new candidates, but the incumbent version is, name one accomplishment that you are most proud of, any idea or change that you have achieved since taking office.
I'm going to take credit for something that it took 6 or 7 other commissioners to vote for, but the downtown parking issue is one that we had discussed ever since I'd been on the City Commission, and a plan was put in place that was going to lead to paid parking on Broad Street. And I have talked to a lot of the downtown merchants. I've had a lot of people call me. I've met with downtown merchants. I've met with citizens who did not believe that we needed parking meters on Broad Street. And the more I studied that issue, I was against it when we talked about it in 2018. There are things that we needed to do downtown. We needed to improve the parking decks. We needed better signage. We needed to clean up the parking decks. We needed to do a better job of monitoring employees who work on Broad Street and are parking on Broad Street. We moved forward on the plan, and then this past June, when we began talking again about implementing the plan, the people that I would talk to, who were downtown merchants, just didn't want to move forward. And so at a City Commission meeting, I made a motion that we change the parking that we had, instead of from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., that would go from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and that we have a 3-hour limit instead of a 2-hour limit. And so we implemented that. It was an ordinance change. It had to, had a first reading. We went back 2 weeks later and voted on it. And I have gone back and talked to some of the merchants on Broad Street, and it seems like we have, to a large extent, alleviated the problem. So I've got, I think that is one of the more meaningful things that I've been involved in, and I'm very proud of that.
Okay.
Our Latino neighbors are a growing part of our city's population. but hold few positions of leadership in Rome. How do you plan to facilitate that change?
Well, that's an interesting question. I had breakfast last week with Jenny Krieger, who's president of the chamber, Rome Floyd Chamber, and Cassandra Wheeler with Georgia Power. And we were talking about the Rome Floyd Chamber going forward. And I'm a past chair of the chamber and have been involved in that chamber since, I think my first meeting was in 1978 when it was on Broad Street. But I think that's one area that the chamber and the business community needs to do more outreach. We have a lot of Hispanic-owned businesses in Rome and Floyd County. We've got some very strong leadership in the Hispanic community. And it's almost like it's two different paradigms there. You've got traditional old Rome businessmen and women, and then you got the Hispanic community, and they have a tremendous impact on our community. So I suggested that we try to work on that and try to bring them under the umbrella of the Rome Floyd Chamber, if possible. And they also have a huge presence in our schools. And I've got a grandson at West End Elementary and a grandson at Rome Middle. And it's amazing to me at the number of Hispanic kids and Latino kids that we have in the Rome City schools. So I think we need to reach out as a government and as a chamber and try to find out how we can partner with the Hispanic community. I think they're tremendous in, the work ethic, the business sense, the willing to work the long hours. It's almost like what we saw in America 40 or 50 years ago, coming out of World War II. These people, they ingrain themselves in the community. They go to church. They buy goods and services. So I think that's an area that we really need to focus on.
All right. Do you support the urban camping ordinance that the police have proposed? And how do you envision the city's role in finding solutions to issues of poverty?
I do support it. I've served on the Public Safety Committee now. I've been on that. I chaired it last year. I've served on it 3 years now. That ordinance came to us from Chief Denise Downer McKinney and her command staff. They had met with Andy Davis, who's our city attorney, and they came to us because they're at a loss in terms of what to do with the homeless population. There are situations where the panhandling gets out of hand, and then the pictures that they showed us at the Public Safety Committee meeting of some of the campsites, the rubbish and the trash, and they're getting close to some of the trail areas, and we don't know how many homeless people we have. I went to the homelessness task force meeting week before last. We talked about there being 200, then we talked about there being 400. Somebody said they think there may be 800, and we don't know that. But we can work on that problem, and we can use all of the resources that we have, but at the same time, public safety is an obligation of elected officials, and our Rome Police Department asked for help. I'll read you, if you give me just a second, an email that we got, and the reason I brought this, this came from our police chief on September the 4th. Sam's Club around 5:00 a.m., homeless panhandlers, just nasty looking men are approaching women as they come into work in the parking lot. They are being very forceful when asking for money and sexual favors. The workers park in the front but have to walk around the back to the receiving area to clock in for work. Now if that was John Hershey or Greg, or Craig McDaniel, and we were standing out in that parking lot sexually harassing employees of Sam's, or asking for money or being intimidated, would be arrested. We take a whole different approach to the homelessness community or the homeless community. What they have asked for is help, and that's the reason we got this email after we had the Public Safety Committee meeting where we had agreed to not do anything until the task force had met. And so I emailed Commissioner Quick and Commissioner Slack, and I said, I think we need to go ahead on the ordinance. If we had voted on the ordinance that night, it would have been a first reading. It would have waited for 2 weeks, and during that 2-week period, we could have had the task force meeting. I'm completely in favor of it.
Okay.
Do you believe downtown businesses have been hurt because of the parking ordinance? How would you describe the problem with parking, and what is your solution?
Well, I like the solution that we came up with. I think it is a very workable solution. I've talked to a number of downtown merchants since we did the ordinance change. We put up new signing that shows 3 hours worth of parking from 8 to 6. I think that is the best solution. I don't think we have a parking problem on Broad Street. I think we have a walking problem. When I was president at Georgia Northwestern Technical College, we had a parking problem because everybody wanted to park closest to a door. Everybody wanted to be, and so we got into a situation where we had staff and faculty that would get there early. It was hard in some instances for students to find parking. So we addressed that back then. Only a couple of hours a day, from maybe 11 a.m. To maybe 1 p.m. during lunchtime, or if you have an event downtown, do you really have a parking problem? So I never believed the fact that, or the report that 95% of the merchants on Broad Street were in favor of this kiosk approach. I think we're just trying to generate revenue, and it takes money out of the pockets of the merchants. So I think what we have in place right now is the best thing we could have going forward.
Okay. Now that the city and county have decided to take a larger role in economic development and recruitment of industries, what changes are you proposing regarding recruitment strategies, and how will you measure success of the new model?
Well, back in 2016, I think it was June or July of 2016, I said at a city commission meeting, we were about to approve a 1.4 mil tax increase. And I made a statement at a city commission meeting that we've got to do something about bringing jobs to the community. We've got to change our model. Because if you take Pirelli, Suzuki, Neat & Rome, and F&P out of the picture, they came back in 2002, 2003. We brought in Lowe's, but we've had long dry spells. We've lost some really good paying jobs in the community since then. So I have felt for a long time, even before I got on the city commission, that we needed to make a change. We have a wonderful chamber. I support our chamber 100%. I don't think our chamber was doing a good job with industrial recruitment. I've been very open about that. The mayor asked me to sit on that task force along with Wright Bagby from the county, and I served on that. But what we've got to do going forward, we've hired Missy Kendrick, and we put it under the Rome Floyd Development Authority. She's very qualified, and they are very focused now. But I think what we've got to do going forward is something that we haven't done. We have got to have more land. Our inventory of land is abysmal. We've got 110 acres out of 53 and 140. We've got 40 acres over behind Lowe's. We've got some property behind Floyd County Industrial Park. And then if those go, we have nothing. We don't have a spec building. I'm in the real estate business now. In the parking lot, I was having a conversation with a real estate agent who does Bartow County, and Bartow County is going crazy right now with new spec buildings and new jobs. They've got 2,200 acres of industrial property in Bartow County. We've got less than 200 in Floyd County. So, and we've got to have that spec building, because if you're 20 miles off the interstate, you've got to have something to compensate for that. And I think the Rome Floyd Development Authority, I've talked with everybody on that authority, they agree with that, and I think the county commissioners agree. We've got money now. We've got SPLOST money. We've got about $5 million now to buy land, and maybe the spec building is a public-private partnership. But if you keep on doing what you've done, y'all know you're going to get what you got, and we weren't getting enough. And so I felt we needed that change.
Okay.
And how we measure it going forward, it's just results. With government being involved in it, then I think it's a situation where we have to ask questions on a really regular basis.
Well, thank you for being with us, Commissioner McDaniel. We're out of time for the interview, but we appreciate you being with us. And we got to take a break. We'll be back with another candidate after this.
Your life is filled with opportunities to show the world you can take charge. It's waking up each day with a mission. It's working each day toward a goal. It's choosing to rise. It's charging forward with a purpose. It's changing the course of your life and taking charge of your future. If you're ready to be a Take Charger, enroll at Georgia Highlands College today.
Welcome back to Community Watch. Our next candidate for Rome City Commission is incumbent Milton Slack, who is running for a position in Ward 1. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and it's always good to talk about one of my favorite subjects, that's Rome, Georgia.
All right, Commissioner. Question number one, what is your primary motivation for running for Rome City Commission?
Well, I like to serve people, and I like to see my community grow. I'm a lifelong Roman, born on Weaver Ward at Floyd Hospital in 1943. And so I've seen Rome graduate. And right now, Rome is pretty high on the podium of things going on. We are continually moving forward, and I would like to be a part of keeping that moving forward.
Okay.
All right. This question is slightly different for incumbents as for new candidates. So the incumbent version of the question is, name one accomplishment that you are most proud of, any idea or change that you have achieved since taking office.
I'm so proud of the Rome Tennis Center because in spite of a lot of objections, we have made it into something that's a resource for Rome. I think in the first year or two, we did over $1.3 million in revenue that was brought to Rome because of the people and organizations that came in to use our tennis center. So I'm very proud of that because the naysayers said it wouldn't grow, but right now we're going up with that indoor court. Hopefully we can bring in some more national and global tournaments to help Rome. We're sitting right between Virginia and Louisiana. We're in the center, we ought to be able to draw a lot of tennis here, and Rome has always been a tennis town. And one thing that I'm proud of is once I got on the commission, I found out that there's a lot of educational benefits to it. And I've accumulated 320 hours from the George Vincent Institute of Learning through GMA, and there are opportunities there to expand on your knowledge of what you know about running the government, because when I first got in there, I thought I knew everything. Found out I didn't know, but the opportunity was there, and you take advantage of them. You get to interact with people from all other type communities, and I found that we are held in high esteem all over the state of Georgia. A lot of things that happen, they say check Rome out. They're already doing that. So we've been progressive as a governing body here in Rome, and we're moving forward.
Okay. Our Latino neighbors are a growing part of our city's population, but hold few positions of leadership in Rome. How do you plan to facilitate that change?
Well, we making them welcome. That's one thing. I think that's the big thing. People don't think they're welcome here. You get different cultures coming out, and they have to learn, and things that happen where they came from aren't the same as here. So we need to welcome them with open arms. The chamber's still in vogue. Talk to the people. Let them know the possibilities that there are here in Rome, that there is opportunities to open and expand any business that they bring here.
All right. Do you support the urban camping ordinance that the police have proposed? How do you envision the city's role in finding solutions to issues of poverty?
Okay, I am the chairman of the Public Safety Committee, and I do support it, okay? Because we have one of the finer police departments anywhere. We've always worked with the communities. We don't have a lot of strife, willing to go in and work with people and talk to them. Now, the ordinance on panhandling and urban camping came from a request from our police chief and her staff, because they're getting a lot of calls to go in and see what we're going to do. Now, there are laws on the books that we got, that people call us on, like loitering, vagrancy, stuff like that, that you could really criminalize people. But if you're going to put an ordinance in place, you got to define it, and if there are any penalties that go with it, you got to put those in place. Now, when this first came to us, it was to go on first reading. And I always talk about unintended consequences. And out of this came the problem of homelessness. There was a move to say we were criminalizing the homeless people or unfortunate people, people who are down. Whenever you say homeless to me, my heart goes out to them. I got some friends who are homeless. So, you know, and the thing is, our police want to know exactly what do we need to do when we get a call on something like the panhandling. When the people get aggressive, you got to have something in place that's legal that they can enforce. And our police aren't going to go out there helter-skelter and start running and beating up on those people. We don't have that type of police. We have a compassionate police force, and they're always training to know how, to know how to handle people. And so these ordinances, had we put them on first reading, when they first came out, they would have been put on first reading. People would have got a chance to look at them, pick holes in them, and in the next meeting, you know, we could change them, move them up, move them back, and then on the third, you got to have 3 readings before you do it, and there's no ordinance that's written in concrete. We can change them all, we have changed some. And, but I got to support the people who are going to be there for me when I need them. So we got 36,000 people in the city of Rome, 96 Floyd County, and they really don't know exactly how many homeless people there are. But there's a fear. There's a fear, and fear is real. And I've had people talk to me about it. So we got to educate each other. Say, hey, these people are people just like us. They need a chance, and we need to have the rules in place so that we can govern how we act with and interact with those people.
All right. Do you believe downtown businesses have been hurt because of the parking ordinance? How would you describe the problem with parking, and what is your solution?
Well, right now, we're still looking at it, the whole situation. Every day they're going out getting information, and that it's going to be a slow process. I think that we have enough parking places, but we don't have enough parking places in front of the businesses that people want to use. Okay, some of the problem was we found in some of the studies is the employees of some of these businesses are parking in front of these places. So, and if they don't go out and move their cars, then, you know, I know the people, the owners want the turnover. You got to have turnover. But I think there's enough parking downtown. I wish somebody would come up with an entrepreneur would come up with a bus route downtown, you know, parking, and we'll run you in here, and, you know, they could make some more money too. But with the transformation of downtown from business to business live over, we're going to continue to have a problem, because those people got to park somewhere too, and they don't want to park way over and walk here if they live here. So it's an ongoing problem, and I'm willing to look at it, take it step by step, let the process work itself out, and I think it'll be all right.
All right. Now that the city and county have decided to take a larger role in economic development and recruitment of industries, what changes are you proposing regarding recruitment strategies, and how will you measure success of the new model?
Okay, when you look at that, we got a new entity that was developed, the industrial side of it. We still got the chamber pulling in smaller jobs, but it's brand new. and we're all taking first steps. So we don't know whether we're going to have to take 3 steps and back up or what. But we got to let that process evolve. One of the big things I've heard about businesses coming to Rome, it's always been I-75, the close proximity to, well, see, no matter what we do, it's not going to get any closer. If we had a straight shot through, it's still going to be 30 miles away. And the big industry look at it this way, that's a 70-mile trip, round trip from 75. We do have 27 running right down the middle of Rome. Why not take that and play that up more? It intersects most big highways down through all the way to the coast, and I think in the middle of 2020, it'll be interstate 4-lane all the way from Indiana. So look at those possibilities, and we need to continue to look at all of our options, and different businesses ask for different things when they want to come here. 2 things we're going to give them is money and land. So, and there's we need to do something, I think they call it a spec building we've been talking about. We don't have a lot of land. Don't have a lot of land, but we need to find some place, develop it so that it's almost shovel ready for some big business to come in here. So that's the thing we need to look at.
Right.
Based on the recent requirement that the Rome City Schools provide their own transportation, what do you see as the next chapter for the Rome Transient? Is it finally the right time to add Georgia Highlands to the bus routes?
Is Georgia Highland willing to come in? but it's funny that we did this for almost 50 years before we found out we weren't in compliance. Then we were given a short time to swap over. So it's quick thinking, and I like the fact that we are getting the public off with our kids. You don't know who's riding the bus, okay? And I'm a safety committee man, and my top 5 priorities in the top 5 in anything we do is safety. Safety, whether it's real or perceived. And so I would love to have that partner. We're going to have moving forward strange partnerships, I call them, of every sector. We're going to have egos have no amigos. Got to take some of those egos and throw them away, and just say, hey, let's work for the common good of everybody.
All right, we have just over a minute left. African American and Latino residents of Rome total over 40% of the population. What can the City of Rome do to increase the involvement of these residents in area businesses, both as owners and as patrons?
I guess we have to increase our brand, make sure we know that we are really all-inclusive, and everybody has an opportunity, if they provide a good service, to excel here in Rome. And I think opening the doors to the chamber, all the different clubs, let them bring people in and tell them what we offer here in Rome. And like I say, all of us get together and work for the good, common good of Rome, Georgia.
Okay.
We don't have. I think we're going to stop
I
here.
think
We don't
we
have.
better.
Yeah, we don't have
You
enough
won't
time
have
for
time to
another
answer.
question. Commissioner, we want to thank you for being with us, and thank you for joining us. And we'll see you next time on Community Watch.
Always my pleasure. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye now.
Did you?
Hold on.